In 2024, the world conducted the single largest exercise in voting in human history. More than 70 national elections took place. Countries representing roughly 4.2 billion people, over half the global population, sent citizens to the polls. We evaluate these massive logistical efforts through a familiar lens. We watch the campaigns, the lines at polling stations, and the counting centers to determine if the process is free and fair. But beneath that visible layer of rallies and physical paper operates a quieter system. The environments where voters gather information are actively shaped by algorithms they cannot inspect. We measure the health of a democracy by the physical act of casting a ballot, while ignoring the automated systems that structure what a voter sees before they arrive. Long before Election Day, a voter's reality is sorted. Automated recommendation feeds and moderation protocols decide what appears on their screens. Ad platforms target specific demographics, while search systems rank which explanations appear authoritative and which perspectives vanish from the timeline. Billions have gained the right to vote, yet the methods for auditing the systems that curate public reality have not evolved to match the complexity of modern information feeds. We demand intense physical security protocols for ballot boxes. We have built no equivalent civic audit room for the fluid that dictates public attention. Democratic choice relies on informed consent. When the information landscape is governed by closed, private systems, that consent is compromised. The popular debate around artificial intelligence remains trapped in two extremes. It is sold as a productivity engine or feared as an impending conscious threat. The reality is far more mundane. Algorithms already act as quiet civic infrastructure. They sort, rank, filter, and route human beings on a massive scale. These systems determine public benefit eligibility, score credit applications, filter resumes, direct police patrols, and triage patients in healthcare settings. When the system fails, the impact is immediate and opaque. A candidate never sees the job listing, or a family receives an automatic rejection notice for housing assistance. Finding out why is frustrating. Responsibility blurs as institutions point to vendors, vendors to data, and data hides behind terms of service. The impacted person has no authority to appeal to. Model complexity becomes a defensive wall, dismissing requests for human explanation. These sorting systems transfer authority to code, allowing institutions to frame operational failures as mathematical certainties. This opacity is facing immediate legal pushback. Global governance bodies are treating algorithmic accountability as a present-day crisis. The European Union's AI Act formally classifies certain deployments as high risk. This includes systems that touch education, essential services, law enforcement, and democratic processes. Similarly, the Open Government Partnership mandates that frameworks share a requirement. If an algorithm can deny a loan, dictate a sentence, or filter an election feed, citizens must be able to inspect its logic. The legal standard for implementing civic technology is no longer sheer processing speed. It is whether the public retains the right to challenge the outcome. Addressing this requires a move toward epistemic governance. This replaces vague corporate pledges with a forensic framework for auditing how institutions verify information. Right now, organizations engage in legitimacy theater. They publish vague ethical principles, mandate a superficial human-in-the-loop checkbox, or claim transparency by uploading a static PAF. Genuine governance forces an institution to answer a much harder question. It requires them to explain precisely how the machine knows what it claims to know. This means forensic audits. Investigators must ask what specific data fed the model, and what proxy variables might be smuggling institutional biases into the code. It demands clear rules for who oversees the internal auditors, and a strict definition of what type of human harm qualifies as evidence of system failure. The burden of proof flips. Institutions can no longer say, "Trust the model's accuracy." They must show they're working. Epistemic governance pulls these systems out from the background. It subjects algorithmic sorting to the exact same scrutiny we apply to judges, politicians, and bureaucrats. Automation itself is a tool. When deployed correctly, it catches fraud, identifies risks early, and helps underfunded public services operate with necessary efficiency. But processing power without public explanation strips away accountability. The system simply becomes an unchallengeable mechanism of state or corporate authority. Which brings us back to the 4.2 billion people asked to cast a ballot. They stand in physical booths, marking paper, while a digital infrastructure silently curates the information they bring to the ballot box. Democratic agency is defined by the power to question the logic of these systems, inspect the evidence, and force invisible power into the light.